and welcome to the public SEAC meeting. Thank you for being available to participate electronically. It's my pleasure to welcome members of the public who are connected to this meeting. SEAC appreciates your interest in public education in York Region. As per our current practice, members of the public have the opportunity to listen and observe the proceedings. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time. All parliamentary actions outlined in the York Region District School Board Operation and Bylaw will continue to be followed. As the chair, I will be inviting members by name to speak to any reports included in the agenda. To ensure quorum is maintained for the duration of the meeting, please verbally announce if you're withdrawing. A reminder to all participants, please turn off your microphone off on your devices, and you are not speaking, and type your name in the chat to be interested. So this is always a great meeting in June, which is always busy. I think we'll start with Jillian Patrick to do the land acknowledgement.
Hey, thank you, Chair Zeraldo. So as we bring our group together today, we like to always start by centering ourselves with the land acknowledgement, and especially during June, which is National Indigenous History Month, which is an important opportunity for us to reflect on our shared past and commit to continuous learning and action toward reconciliation. So we affirm that we are all treaty people and acknowledge that the York Region District School Board is located on the lands of two treaties. These treaties have been signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the First Nations of the Williams Treaties, who are the Mississaugas of Alderville, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Scugog Island, and the Chippewas of Beau Soleil, Rama, and Georgina Island, who is our closest neighbor and partner in education. To honor this agreement, we will take up our responsibility to be respectful of their traditions, knowledge, and inherent rights as sovereign nations. We will respect the relationship with these lands and recognize that our connection to this land is through the continued relationship with these First Nations, and we acknowledge our shared responsibility to respect and care for the land and waters for future generations.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve our agenda.
Sue Walters.
Thanks, Sue. Seconder.
Carolyn Butterworth.
Thank you, Carolyn. Declaration of conflict of interest. Any trustee who has a direct personal interest or a direct or indirect personal interest in any matter being discussed during this meeting to state their conflict and the nature thereof. Seeing none, we can move on. Approval of the May 7th minutes. I have a motion to approve the May 7th minutes.
Carolyn Butterworth.
All right, so I got Sarah and Carolyn. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, that was me.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Carolyn. All right, so we always like in June because we get to do some special announcements and congratulate some people as well. And so the first one we want to do is the recipients of the Jim Alberry Award, which is the Cedarwood Public School community class teams. And I know a lot of them are online with us, including Principal McDonald. And so we're really appreciative of you attending us. So just going to say a few words. On Tuesday, there will be more to say. The nomination came to do with the autism community class team and the developmental disability team at Cedarwood Public School. These teams demonstrate exceptional dedication, collaboration, exemplary practices, and innovation in supporting students with a wide range of learning needs and abilities. Starting with the principal, McDonald, has created a highly supportive and responsive learning environment where every student is valued and given meaningful opportunities to succeed. Through strong trusting partnerships with families throughout the program, individual education plans, and the use of evidence-based strategies such as visual support, structural teaching, and assistive technology. The teams are equally committed to creating an inclusive experience with a broader school community. They actively look for ways to involve students in school activities and social opportunities, helping them to build relationships and feel a strong sense of mattering and belonging at Cedarwood. The ASD teams and the DD teams consistently go above and beyond to support their students' growth, independence, and well-being. Their innovative practices and unwavering commitment to excellence in special ed make them truly deserving of the Jim Alberry Education Award. And I'm very pleased that some of you are here tonight, and I know that Jim would be very pleased with the recipient of Cedarwood. So congratulations. Thank you, thank you. And as you know, there will be a plaque, well, you might know, there'll be a plaque that will be at your school. There's also a plaque that is in the board office that lists all the previous Jim Alberry awards. So we're really pleased that we continue this award. And I knew Jim, so I know that he would be very pleased in congratulating you at the community class teams at Cedarwood. So thank you for attending tonight. You're more than welcome to stay on, but I'm sure it's very busy and you need to, celebrate as you go through, and we'll celebrate more on Tuesday. So thank you for joining us. Other announcements is Charlene, who is our secondary rep, is stepping down after 8 years of being on SEAC, and she's been a great advocate and support of our students, and will continue to do that even though she won't be on SEAC. And there's a certificate that I think, yeah, there it is, that's being displayed for Charlene, and we really appreciate all the work you've done, Charlene, not just at the SEAC, but within your school and your community. So congratulations. I think she's on because she was at a concert for her students, so it's very busy. In conjunction with that, we have Sandy Soko, who represents CTN and has been with us for 4.5 years. She's stepping down as the current rep, but will be the alternate rep starting in September. So Sandy, we wanted to thank you for your time and support for our students at the SEAC table in the last 4.5 years. So thank you. And you will be receiving a certificate as well. The other thing I wanted to share, actually, I'll open it up. Is there any other special announcements that anyone else has before I talk about one or two others? I don't see anything unless there's something in the chat. Okay, perfect. All right. So a couple more announcements. The Learning Disabilities Association is celebrating 50 years, and there will be a community barbecue celebration August the 26th from 4 to 7. So I think you've got some of that information. So if you're interested, definitely let us know that you will be attending. And then last night, we attended the Yes I Can Awards for the Council for Exceptional Children, along with the 2 school board support. And we had 900 in attendance and 230, I think 5 students with exceptionality received their medallions. And happy families, happy educators, 13 awards for adults. And I really appreciated the staff and the trustees who came out to support this event. So thank you. And I think, unless Sue or Wendy know of something else, I think I've covered everything at this point. Business arising, we dealt with that through the communications committee. We have 4 alternate reps on our SEAC tonight. And I think some of them for the first time. Linda from Early Intervention Services. Jim has been on before from ABC, and Chris from the Down syndrome. So welcome. And Trustee Cohen and Trustee Big Canoe send their regrets, but Trustee McCarthy and Trustee Butterworth are on, so that's great. So the next thing we want to spotlight is Shannon Phillip, who does an amazing job in finding all these wonderful stories that add joy to us every SEAC meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to Shannon.
Good evening, everyone, and through you, Madam Chair. For the past few years, we've celebrated our students' accomplishments each June during our Spotlighting Excellence Achievement and Community video, reflecting on the year that was. It's also been a chance to capture what staff are most proud of and the moments that brought joy to both students and the staff who have supported them. Tonight is no different. However, we thought we would revisit some familiar faces, along with a few new ones to check in, see what students and staff have been up to, and hear what they're most proud of from the 25-26 school year.
I'm proud to start an app that has a huge possibility to make a big difference for all students, especially with students with learning disabilities.
What brought me joy this year is we expanded our Student Ambassador program for students with IEPs. This year, we recruited more students from our LLD program and our Learning Strategies classes to be leaders.
I would say the highlight of my school year is opening up more. Since, I'm a grade 11 student, and in grade 9, I was more closed off than anything else. And I feel like this school year has really opened me up to things like this.
Some of the things that gave me joy this year were just seeing the kids really explode using their talkers and communicating their wishes, their needs, and seeing how that interacted with our literacy program and our program as a whole. An example of that is how we used Boardmaker to create their messages for the SEAC video.
I am proud that I go on field trips and I use my talker and walker. Something challenging I did was use my walker, talker, and sander. Something I loved this year was all of the fun activities. Something challenging I did was using my walker and sander. Something I loved this year was dancing and going to soda.
So something that brings me joy is seeing how happy the kids are to come to school. Of course, not every day are they happy, but they're often giving us smiles, and their parents say how sorry they are to miss, how the kids are sorry to miss school on PA days.
I am proud of how I use my talker and how I bring my name. Something I found challenging was using the sewing machine to make a purse. Something I loved was playing baby doll and making ice clay.
I am proud of how I use my talker so that my family understands.
Something I loved this year was using my new talker. I'm excited to get my new talker because I have so many words.
Not only are we proud of our students each and every day, but to see the pride that they have with their own abilities and their new growth on a daily is something that we all just keep dear in our hearts.
I am proud of using my new red bike. Something challenging I did was using my walker. Something I loved this year was going on the bus to Soda and Sibbald Point.
My proudest moment this year was doing announcement. I was on video making announcement to the whole school classroom. I did a great job.
This year, my most proudest moment was coming in 5th place on track and field. I ran 2 laps, my friends and teammates cheered me on. Even when I was tired, I never gave up. I do right smart.
I'm very proud of my students for their learning, for their courage, for their challenges, especially for performing on stage and learning to play songs on different instruments.
My biggest challenge at school is to learn new languages, and I also did a good job at French.
The things I'm most proud of this year is that I learned to make slideshows with my favorite characters and sound effects. Bye!
I'm so proud of how my students have been doing with their self-advocacy this year. They've been asking for what they want and for what they need.
I had so much fun singing "Oh Canada" and "Yes I Can Walk."
I make Joshi and Miss Hala.
I really love
them because I play basketball.
I'm extremely fortunate this year to be working in such an amazing class with a group of amazing students who've made it so much fun and have had such a great learning experience.
I'm proud of doing my work experience. I work by myself. I organize the shelf at Shop Struggle.
I like to go to Best Buddies Farm and I saw my friends there.
I like painting.
I like gardening.
My highlight of the school year was socializing with my friends and going on field trips.
My best part of the school year is that I like to enjoy video and photo editing, socializing with my friends a lot. If they're feeling unhappy, I can help them with support.
I enjoyed this school year because I enjoyed doing drawings during period 4.
My favorite part of the school year is eating lunch with friends.
My best part of the school year is like joining school events and then joining like a lot of clubs.
The highlight of my year was seeing my students' hard work come to life in the play. So 2 of them made it to the play and the rest of us got to really enjoy their amazing performances.
I like playing Chef Louie and sing the song. I was playing a seagull and I had fun there.
The things that bring me the most joy every school year, but especially since I started to really work in student services, is just for me, the opportunities to work one-on-one with students, really get to know them a little bit more on a deeper level.
The highlight of my year has been a few weeks ago, I got a call from the board of directors of the Terry Fox Humanitarian Award, letting me know that I am one of the 2026 recipients for the Terry Fox Humanitarian Award. I am super excited. I'm going to the House of Commons next week in Ottawa to receive this award.
Well, Shannon, you've outdone yourself again. Of course, my joy is listening to the stories of our students over the year and seeing their happy faces. And the student that's learned how to make ice cream, well, that's a good day to make it. So thank you very much for sharing that. So the presentation, I'll turn it over to Wendy to introduce our presentation for this evening.
Thank you very much. And through you, Chair Zeraldo, as a reminder to all of our SEAC members, last year we were very excited to release the York Region District School Board Transition Strategy towards Disability Justice. And as shared in October or November, I believe, November, we did our first report, and we said that this would be an ongoing structure that we would continue to bring to SEAC to update you on the implementation of the transition strategy. And so this evening, we are here with our first annual monitoring report that we have worked in partnership with Research and Assessment Services to collate what has happened this year. And I am pleased and proud to have Stephanie Ellis, who is our Chief of PTOT, and Steve Hopkins, a familiar face here at SEAC, to walk you through an overview of this report. As you will know, you have the full report in your package, and tonight's presentation is a slideshow that has kind of distilled that report into a bite-sized piece. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Steve and Stephanie.
Thank you so much. We are really excited to be here and kick off the reporting cycle for our transition strategy. So as Wendy had mentioned, it was launched just over a year ago in the spring of 2025. And really the overall goal being to build consistent practices and experiences across the region and support students. Was written specifically with students with disabilities in mind, but of course, like so many things, essential for a few and good for all, this can support all students across the system. Another goal that we had in mind with this is, of course, the transparency and accountability. And with that, we are starting now the cycle of coming to SEAC with 2 reports each year. This report, named the Monitoring Report, is going to summarize, or does summarize, key events, professional learning, internal and external collaborations that have been built out. So really the projects and the events and the partnerships that we've been building through the year. And then in November, we'll come back with another report, but that is going to be really more around our key performance indicators. And we'll have like data, a little more quantitative analysis. So there's a little more of a qualitative tone to the report that you have now, and more of a quantitative tone in November. Not to say that there isn't some very concrete pieces in what we're reporting today. So you'll notice within the monitoring report, we've broken it into really 3 sections. So supporting students and families, supporting classroom educators, and then the collaborations and the partnerships that we built or continue to build, both internally within the board and across departments, but also externally with our community partners.
Thanks, Steve. It's my pleasure to highlight the first section of the report. Section 1 highlights activities that are focused on supporting students and families. And this has been an incredibly exciting year for us. And we've chosen to highlight 5 key initiatives from this year. So the first key initiative is our post-secondary accessibility fair, which we'll highlight on a subsequent slide, our day program fair, our public transitions hub, and our parent drop-in sessions, as well as released just today, our first podcast that our Transition Navigator team has produced, which is Navigating the Shift, a guide to post-secondary accessibility and accommodations. And you can find that podcast on Wired DSB's social media with links available to Spotify and our YouTube channel, the TuneIn Wired DSB channel. This podcast features 2 brilliant former Wired DSB students, Daniel and Talia, who provide their insights on navigating accessibility and accommodations in post-secondary. And they're funny, and they tell incredibly insightful and helpful stories about their experience and what they would have wanted to share with their grade 10 self or their grade 9 self as they were starting to think about their post-secondary journey. So please, we invite you to tune in and listen to that podcast. The next slide highlights our post-secondary accessibility fair. This was an inaugural event with us here in March. We welcomed over 320 students and their families. Mulock Secondary School was an incredible host. The parking lot was full and was rotating with a lot of folks joining us for this exciting event. We identified post-secondary partners with our research and assessment services team and invited 16 universities, colleges, and trades, both their accessibility offices and their admissions offices. Because we recognize that often parents and students are navigating post-secondary, they're going on university tours, but they're often, the accessibility aspect of that tour is often a very small part of it. And this was an opportunity to bring the offices to them and really have a chance for some focused conversation and have all of those, our top 16 institutions in one space. We were joined by our school mental health team, and we had a graduate panel who was so willing to share their lived experience, their tips and tricks with students that were in attendance. And we also had a presentation. They actually repeated the presentation twice from the Regional Assessment and Resource Center, RARC, that is housed out of Queen's University. And so the auditorium was full for those presentations, and students and staff had a chance to listen to their presentation on what is really essential and what folks needed to know as they were entering this post-secondary phase of their educational journey. We had the following respondents. Over 95 of the respondents agreed that they now have better understanding of how accessibility services work in post-secondary. This event better prepared them to do applications for post-secondary education programs, and they had the opportunity to ask questions about post-secondary accessibility services, and they really enjoyed the format of the event. We also received some direct quotes, and we'll highlight one here on this slide. We had feedback from over 120 participants, and that really speaks to how engaged and invested our students and our families are in York Region. This quote truly captures the spirit of the event. Truly, all of my questions were answered. It was an evening well spent. Even my daughter was pleased with the learning. And if any of us have toured universities, colleges, or trades, that speaks volumes. And thank you for putting on such a thorough presentation and having the right people at the event to help families navigate what's to come. Kudos. We also held our second annual work experience transition day program fair. This was done in partnership with our transition coordinators, work experience transition coordinators, and your support services to support bringing students and families and caregivers together with programs and services. Again, this event was incredibly well attended by the cohort that this event is designed to serve, and over 90% of the participants agreed that they now have a better understanding of how day programs work. They had the opportunity to ask questions about day programs, and the event, again, better prepared them to apply for day programs that interested them. You can see the threads of our strategy coming through how we've structured our monitoring report. And then finally, the quote on this slide, I received the appropriate information, and I had, John, I just lost.
Sorry, Steph. We can still hear you. You've lost the image. Oh.
I think maybe you need to pick it up,
Yep,
Steve,
that's
because
okay.
she seems to not think she
She
has
seems-
connection.
She seems to have dropped off. That's fine.
Well, friends,
There we go. We're back.
nothing like tapping back into your iPhone.
We do have an echo now, Steph.
Give me 2 seconds. I just cleared it. I should be good. Hold on 2 seconds. No? Okay. Hold on.
No,
Kinda
the
cool,
echo is
though.
bad,
Very
Steph.
psychedelic.
Yeah. So Steve, do you want to
Okay.
maybe pick up?
Yep,
while
I
she
can
goes
pick
over
up.
to
No
that?
problem. So again, there was this is another example of feedback that came from our second annual day program fair, receiving the appropriate information and the opportunity to engage with staff to access what would be good, what would be a good fit, and please keep going with this work. So in addition, the other piece that we have just recently launched at the beginning of last month is our Public Transitions Resources Hub. So when we launched our initial transition strategy, we had an internal resources hub for staff to support students in transitions and help shift the understanding and the frameworks and beliefs around transitions and disabilities. This is a hub of resources that is available on the www, so on our public website. And the goal here is to support families and students themselves with resources that will support them and further their ability to advocate as well as understand what supports are available. One of the most important features of the external hub is the ability to access this hub in multiple languages, as well as being AODA compliant for the use of screen readers. The hub is designed to support navigating transitions across the student timeline and serving as a link to the community. Its content is organized by key stages and differentiated pathways beyond school. In addition, the sections include advocacy, accommodations, and roles within the school board. We are also continue to build out more and more resources. In fact, even today, we started lining up two more resources that will be built out for that transition to adulthood in the fall. All right. So the other piece, or the next section of the report that we're going to talk about, is supporting classroom educators, and we've done that through delivery of professional learning, We have a specific Moments Matter professional learning and resource that has been built out. And our internal transitions hub continues to be developed. And of course, we also shifted or changed the structures for our transition page on the IEP starting last fall. So the professional learning, for all of our professional learning, we have pre and post session surveys so that we can monitor and understand how that professional learning has impacted the educators that we're working with. And you can see a summary of some of the themes that have come out of that, and that at all of these sessions, the staff have reported, self-reported, that their knowledge and capacity to support transitions for students with disabilities has increased. They have expressed an intent to integrate the resources like reference sheets and checklists immediately into their practice, and the plans to explore the resources in further detail, share with colleagues, and collaborate with families and students in the planning of transitions. Specifically, one of the quotes that we wanted to highlight coming from one of our guidance department heads. So this is not the head of student services in a high school, but the head of the guidance department. And it was helpful understanding that subconscious ableism ideas are oppressive, and to reflect on how that might be guiding my operations and interactions with students. So you can really see some deep thinking about beliefs and attitudes and how that can impact the way that people work on a daily basis and interact with students. We do want to highlight also our Moments Matter. It's a resource as well as training. And so this was done across multiple departments. We had, this has evolved over a number of years, looking at a number of different aspects of regulation, co-regulation and self-regulation, and how that impacts or influences micro transitions, looking right down at the moment-to-moment transitions from task to task, period to period, that type of thing. And so we're really looking at and highlighting everyday transitions and shifting the view so that it is looking at behavior as communication, as opposed to sometimes, unfortunately, we look at it as resistance or reluctance or opposition, as opposed to a communication of a need. And then using the key practices. So basically it's a key ring. You can see the image on the right-hand side. And each card has a different strategy that can be used. The strategies are grouped into co-regulation, declarative language, playful transitions, interoception, and environmental and emotional safety. And then the key ring can, of course, be personalized to either a group or an individual by adding or subtracting cards and making notes. And so as we've been working through these sessions, again, some feedback that we wanted to highlight: transitions are almost always part of what is leading to challenges for students. So focusing on transition strategies or cards is a great way to address the needs our team get called in for. So that's one of our staff that works regionally, going into schools and working with school-based educators. We also have that internal transitions hub. So as I mentioned earlier, when we launched the strategy, we also launched our internal transitions resources hub, which is organized in a similar manner as the transition strategy itself. And of course, the goal is to support the system in understanding transitions, shifting the attitudes, beliefs, and frameworks around ability, ableism, disability, and also just to support those the learning and the advocacy of students and families. So as I said, it's organized in the same manner as the transition strategy under the priority areas, reflecting, and within each topic, there are reflective questions to help kind of position the current practice, printable resources, there's interdepartmental connections, and external post-secondary and community collaborations. Then also going into the beginning of this year, we had reorganized and redesigned the transitions page within the IEP in order to be more specific and align with the transition strategy framework. And we're also going to be able to do more aggregate data and looking at pathways and planning and goals, and you can see some of the early analysis out of research and assessment services in that section of the report, so that analysis of historical transition pages compared to this year's did reveal a few shifts, including the transition goals had associated actions that targeted micro and macro transitions. Students typically in community classes have highly tailored transition pages, and educators who received training were more specific in creating transition pages than those who had not yet received professional learning. So that does kind of make logical sense, and of course gives us the impetus to continue that professional learning.
Steve, I think my audio is now back on.
Yeah, you sound great.
Beyond grateful that you stepped in. So the final section of the report really focused on our collaborations over the past year, reflecting the transition strategy and supporting the premise that no one individual, department, or sector has sole responsibility for transitions. Collaboration across departments, internal to the board, has been essential, and recognizing that our external partners in other sectors are also integral in supporting students and their families as they transition across their educational journey. The transition navigators have engaged in 14 formal collaboration activities across both internal and external partners, with significant personnel engaged in these activities. And I really want to highlight that again, it takes an incredible village and a team and teams to do this work. And we've had amazing partnership with both our internal and our external partners. These strategic partnerships open doors to build and strengthen collaborative relationships, share and build knowledge and capacity specific to the intersectional needs of students with disabilities. So some of our internal collaborations that we'd like to highlight will be seen in the Appendix A, Table 1 of our transition annual monitoring report. But transition navigators intentionally built relationships, including student services teams, psychological services, and SLP services being some examples, with our work experience transition coordinators, our leadership and development and engagement department, student success, the pathways team in early years through curriculum and instructional services has been instrumental. And this has led to co-created transition resources that Steve has highlighted, which are now being integrated into practice. And it is so exciting to see these resources, like the Moments Matter resource, showing up in all sorts of professional learning, in classrooms and in spaces. And they've been incredibly well received from the system. These exciting collaborations are going to continue as we end this year, and our external collaborations have also been as important and as meaningful. Specifically, want to highlight some of the partnerships with Regional Assessment and Resource Center, or RARC, who support our accessibility fair and led to 2 sessions. They've invited us to review their resource hub and support cross-pollination of information and events for students and families that are engaging in that post-secondary journey. And we've deepened our relationship with Your Support Services Network, who I know is a member of SEAC, to better understand their resources, services, and supports that they offer. And again, cross-pollinating this information to build knowledge and capacity, as well as support students and families who are accessing their agency or who may benefit from accessing YSSN services, supports, and resources. And again, collaboration with other school boards across the province to share resources, best practices, and these partnerships truly reinforce centering students' voice, choice, and agency by enabling more responsive and specialized transition planning for students. Reflecting our core principle, we're always better together. Again, this slide highlights some of the feedback that we've heard. Some folks have been lucky enough to hear us twice. So the second time I've attended this learning, and I continue to learn more each time. I look at the resources, and I'll encourage our board. So this was a cross-board collaboration to take a same or similar initiative. Looking forward, we've still got more work to do, and we're incredibly grateful to be able to do this work. As we review this year, we're excited to report that we had activities to report in many of our areas, but not all. And we have 4 specific areas of our transition strategy that we are going to focus some intentional work on next year. So for folks who are familiar with the strategy, sections 1.6, 1.7, 2.3, and 2.6, and I think Steve and I know those off by heart. Wendy, I'm sure Wendy House, Superintendent House does as well. We are also doing the podcast was a really wonderful opportunity to center voices of 2 of our Wire DSB former students, and we're excited to look at what additional podcasts and see what that format can offer us in terms of connecting with students as well as parents and families. We're also running GPP 301, which is a guidance course credit, a grade 11 course credit. It's a summer credit-bearing course, leadership and peer support, and we've named it Knowing Your Strengths to Design Your Future, and it's intentionally designed for students with disabilities or for students who have identified barriers in their learning. It's co-designed with the students. It's done in partnership with a teacher, an occupational therapist, and EA support EA support in the classroom. And we've launched our parent drop-in sessions, and these have been very well received. They're filling quickly. We're offering more of them. And the 2 areas that we focused on to get us started with these drop-in sessions have been navigating post-secondary transitions, as well as offering the Moments Matter. As Steve mentioned, November will mark our annual outcome report. We're excited to bring that report to SEAC, and that will specifically identify and measure impact of the first year of the strategy. And we're working closely with our partners in research and assessment services to identify our data sources for that report. And bringing that report to you will happen in November. So thank you for tolerating my terrible technology mid-presentation, but we'd like to now open it up with any questions.
Thank you, Stephanie and Stephen. We always appreciate our updates regarding this specific strategy because it is an interest of each of us. Any questions? Comments?
I see Trustee Butterworth trying to raise her hand.
Okay, go for it, Trustee Butterworth.
Thank you. For some reason, I've lost my hand raising. I don't know where it is. Anyway, you saw me. That's great. That course that you were talking about, wow, that sounds amazing. Is that 2027 we're looking at for that course to start, or is it starting this summer?
Yes, through you, Chair Zeraldo. Thank you for that question, Trustee Butterworth. This is actually going to be the 3rd time we run it. We ran it a couple of years ago, and then the teacher went on maternity leave, and so we took a little bit of a pause. We are back this summer. It is very exciting because it is a credit-bearing course, so students can come in the summer and get a credit, and either be a credit ahead, or if they have the need to make up a credit, this is a great credit to take. I believe we are at 28 students. It's a very full cohort, and the beauty of this course is it is peer leadership. Leadership and peer relationships is kind of the overall umbrella, but because we have awesome staff, they will take the interests of the students and then support their interests to further develop the course over the summer month that they are there. It's a summer school program. One of the exciting things that we've just solidified is another overnight trip to Seneca King campus. And again, the opportunity there is for students to go and experience what it would be like to be at a post-secondary opportunity, what they would need to think about for navigation, where would they get support, who would they connect with, and also they have to get themselves there as a group. We support them, but again, it's the transit training, it's the planning, it's all of those pieces. And then once they get there, they've learned a little bit about advocacy in the course and how do they advocate for their specific needs when they're looking at their post-secondary opportunities.
Sounds amazing. Awesome job. Thank you.
Anyone else trying to speak? Just yell out. I don't see anything. So what that says to me, Stephanie and Stephen, that you were so thorough that they got it and they'll reread it again. And I'm sure they'll have more questions in the fall as we move forward. So thanks for carrying on the transition strategy. We really appreciate it. Thanks. All right, the special education plan update. I'll turn that over to Stephen.
Thank you very much. And through you, Chair Zeraldo, we are happy to present to the committee, to SEAC, the final version, the updated version of our special education plan. So the sum total of all of the changes that we have brought through the year have been put together and are part of the package that was sent out to the committee earlier the end of last week. And so we submit that to the committee for adoption, and then it can be brought forward to the trustees.
Perfect. So we didn't get any further feedback, so I'm assuming you and your organizations are ready to have the motion to have it move to the next step. So I'll ask Sue Walters to read that motion.
Okay, super. Thank you, Chair Zeraldo. So the motion is that the Special Education Advisory Committee approve the 2026-2027 Special Education Plan as amended and authorizes submission to the Ministry of Education for approval.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder?
Sarah Chow.
Thank you, Sarah.
And I also saw Chris put up his hand. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, good. All right, Chris. But I appreciate that. And now you can let your organizations know that's the plan to refer to for the upcoming year. So if they have any questions about any role description or there's the exceptionalities or how we do things, that's the plan is the piece that you need to keep in your hand and handy when you are talking about what we are doing in the York Region Board and how lucky we are to have the services that we do have. So thank you, Stephen and Jillian and Shannon, and of course, our great leader, Wendy, for having the special ed plan update. Thank you. And that turns us over to Superintendent Howes to do her report.
Thank you very much. And through you, Chair Zeraldo, as you can well imagine, June is always a busy time of the year, and this June is no different. With thanks to all of you for your budget input, Chair Zeraldo did present the SEAC priorities to the Finance and Property Committee. A couple of weeks ago. Sorry, I thought I had the date in my head and it was 2 weeks ago. Also, as shared during the budget presentation that we had when we were all live and in person in the boardroom, student enrollment projections for the fall of 2026 are a decrease for the York Region District School Board next year. And so where we have had to find reductions, we have looked to achieve those through term funding and unfilled vacancies. At this time of the year, we are continuing to work through our staffing processes in alignment with collective agreements, and we will look forward to bringing an update to SEAC in September. One of the things that we did want to mention that will have an impact on our staffing for the 2026-27 school year is after a 20-year relationship with the Children's Treatment Network, they have notified us that they will end the partnership with us in June. Although this has had an impact and will result in some YRDSB staff reduction, it's important for SEAC to know and our families to know that it will not impact services to our students in our schools. Our staff will continue to deliver the PTOT, so physical and occupational therapists, therapy and speech language pathology services in schools. And the new service provider that will be contracted through Children's Treatment Network will then assume responsibility for these services in the home and community. As we prepare for the fall, we will be working over the summer to finalize the IEP audit process that we are going to bring back to SEAC in September. You will remember that we've had this discussion for a couple of months here at SEAC. We are in the finalization of that process and will be happily coming back to SEAC in September to explain that process and what it will look like. In alignment with the Auditor General's report that was just released in May, we will also be developing system-wide mandatory professional learning specifically related to individual education plans. The Minister of Education has given direction to all school boards in Ontario that one of the required topics for next year is for all staff to be trained and understand individual education plans. And we welcome this opportunity in alignment with our audit to further strengthen understanding and implementation of IEPs across the board. As you've heard, we are also in final preparation for our summer programs. Want to highlight again that we are happy to be offering Hearsay Play, which is one of the programs that we do in partnership with the early years team. Our speech language pathologists, DCEs and EAs work in the summer to support our youngest learners in further developing their early literacy skills. And that is in alignment with the early reading screenings. And again, this is highly subscribed to last year. I think we served over 300 students in this program. So we are very excited about that. And again, just to highlight our excitement around the return of the GPP 301 Leadership and Peer Support, which is a credit-bearing course for students. Yeah, Jillian's doing a dance around GPP with 28 students registered this summer to take that peer and leadership course so that they understand that their leadership and advocacy is going to have an important role in as they move forward in their education careers and post-secondary opportunities. Since our last meeting, it's also been very busy out in the system with our Best Buddies prom. We also had both of our students of differentiated access track and field festivities for elementary and secondary. Our Deaf, Hard of Hearing team had both their Literacy Cafe and annual picnic, which are opportunities for those families to come in community and celebrate their accomplishments over the years. And as Chair Zeraldo mentioned yesterday, we culminated with the Yes I Can Awards, which is an opportunity for us to recognize students across several categories: advocacy, technology, academics, and recognize their strengths and their successes in support, with support, from staff and their families. So it has been busy, and we are excited to get to the end of another school year. At this time, before I pass it over to Coordinating Superintendent Gibbons, I do want to say on behalf of Coordinating Superintendent Gibbons and myself to SEAC, we cannot thank you enough for your partnership, for your willingness to engage and to provide us feedback and opportunities for us to understand where we might have some gaps and where we might need to revisit opportunities for future growth. And so with that, we both say thank you, and I will pass it over to Coordinating Superintendent of Curriculum and Instructional Services and Continuing Education, Jillian Gibbons, for her report.
Thank you. So to finish up this year in Curriculum and Instructional Services, we again ran a very successful arts camp. 289 students in grades 6 to 12 spent 7 days in the Haliburton area at Camp White Pine. So students there participate in varied arts activities, including painting, dancing, beading with an Indigenous elder, drawing, songwriting, musical theater, and much more. Students also had the opportunity to engage in outdoor activities, including canoeing, mountain biking, running, and even swimming in the lake, which was registering a very cool 10 degrees. It was such an incredible experience for our students, many who are attending overnight camp for the very first time. So we are now in planning mode for the next school year and taking lots of time to reflect on the impact of the work we did this year and where we want to focus our energies for next year. Finally, I want to highlight that the 2026-2027 core education funding was recently released. So one big change is the movement of a number of funding lines that used to be in the responsive education funding line have been brought into core education funding. So funds in responsive education programs are funds that were determined annually based on areas of focus identified by the ministry. We were never sure if they were going to be available from year to year. You always had to wait for the release. By moving this funding into core education, the government has made a commitment to provide the support to school boards every year. And this allows us to better program over multiple years. So some of the lines that moved into core education funding included the supports related to the Math Achievement Action Plan. So that includes the math facilitator, our math lead staffing, and our digital tool provision. Also supports related to literacy, including the provision of the early reading screener and funding for materials and professional learning, and the staff that support the implementation of that early reading screener. Also, cyber safety learning resources are now part of core education funding, supports for children and youth in care, and there's a new special education and disabilities transition component, which is the combination of 3 funds that were under responsive education, and then related to transitions in co-op education for students with disabilities. So having consistent funding going forward will be very helpful for our long-term planning. So with that, I'd like to wish everyone a great summer, and we look forward to sharing the great work happening in the WIRE DSB at SEAC next year. And again, echoing Wendy, thank you so much for the opportunity to spend Thursdays with you.
Thank you. Successful practices and challenges. Does anyone around the table have any successful practices or challenges you'd like to bring forward? This is your time and opportunity to do that. Either out loud or to send it to me to address with Wendy and the team. So I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Are you guys seeing anything in? No. Okay. So none at this time. You can tell it's June. Everyone is like, okay, what do I have to do next to celebrate or not celebrate, whatever. So report from the board, Trustee Butterworth.
Hello, yes, I have it here. So at the May 19th, 2026 Learning Equity and Wellbeing Standing Committee meeting, trustees received a Dismantling Anti-Black Racism Strategy Information Report. The report focused on implementation updates on the strategy and includes information about the delivery of targeted student-focused initiatives to improve credit accumulation, graduation outcomes, and well-being supports for Black students. The report also highlights a leadership pilot program at Tommy Douglas Secondary School and some meaningful family and community engagement initiatives. At the June 2nd, 2026 Learning Equity and Wellbeing Standing Committee meeting, trustees received a mathematics achievement action plan. So progress update information report. The ministry's mathematics achievement action plan is part of the Better Schools and Student Outcomes Act, Bill 98, and includes a summary around progress of board areas of foci for priority schools and all schools, professional learning opportunities, and supports and information regarding digital math tool usage. A district action plan, the June monitoring report for 2025-2026 was received, and this extensive report focuses on updates and data to support the monitoring of 3 priorities: student achievement, health and well-being, and human rights and inclusive education. And these reports will be shared with you, committee members, following this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Butterworth. Policy update. The policy right now for policy 601, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. It's due by the end of June. And as always, we encourage you to go on the website and look at the policies and give your input and your insights as you move forward. The Communications Subcommittee met beforehand, and just a couple things. Our September SEAC meeting We will be talking about psychological assessments and process. And if you've got any specific questions you want to ask of the chief and that, feel free to send those questions ahead to myself so that we can make sure that everyone has it. So we have the questions that you want to see answered. Our October meeting will be our face-to-face meeting in person, which is great. And then our April meeting will be our other face-to-face meeting for next year. Also want to remind you as agencies, you need to get your letter in to Lori, et cetera, about who's going to sit on SEAC for the next 4-year term for 2026 and onwards. We need those letters ASAP so that they can go through the process to get approved before the new year starts. So some of you have already submitted it in, which is great. And so if we could just get everybody else to get theirs in, that would be awesome. And the only other thing I would mention is if you have any other future items that you would like to have addressed at this table, the SEAC table, feel free to do that. We welcome your input. We welcome what you're hearing out there as far as challenges. And Shannon always looks for successful stories. So if you know of anyone that we should be highlighting, you know, definitely let us know. And as everyone has said, you know, we appreciate all the work around this table to guide, to share, to, you know, challenge a little bit about what we need to do for our students. And I think we're very fortunate that our SEAC does have a great relationship with staff and the board, because that's not always the way across the SEAC. So we're glad that we can do that. And as we break for the summer, some of us will still be doing some stuff, but as we break for the summer, it's important to reflect and think about what we need to do further to move the agenda. And don't listen to the media. And, you know, unless you hear it from Wendy or myself, it really, sometimes it's just a lot of chatter just to get people worked up. So the board will keep us abreast of what is going on. And if nothing else, I will ask for an adjournment.
Sue Walters.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone, have a great, safe summer. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a great
everybody.
summer. Have a great summer.